life is inherently not easy. Every home, every situation, every person carries a hidden sorrow that sometimes they can't share with anyone. There are days you feel like a dry leaf, adrift in the winds of life without a place to cling to. There are times you wonder why, even though you've lived well, you still encounter misfortune. Even though you've tried your best, you're still misunderstood. And even though you've loved sincerely, you still receive hurt. Just one heavy moment passing in the day, your heart adds another thin layer of sadness, making sleep harder than ever as night falls. And right now, as the night is quiet, as the world has sunk into stillness, you can take a deep breath and allow yourself to be a little vulnerable. Life has been tiring all day. Tonight, there's no need to try any harder. Just relax your body and let your mind rest. You don't have to prove anything, nor do you need to compete with anyone. This is a time for you to return to yourself. No judgment, no comparing wins and losses. There are pains that only when night falls do you become clear enough to hear the sigh in your heart. But also, in this night, you will learn how to gently release layers of worries. Breathe in deeply to bring light into every cell of your body. Breathe out gently to let go of accumulated anxieties. Each breath is a renewal of your soul. Impermanence is the nature of life. Today may be difficult, but tomorrow will be different. No suffering lasts forever if we don't hold on to it tightly in our hearts. Every morning, the sun still rises. Each passing day is silently healing you. Sometimes we think we've fallen, but in reality, our mind is just tired and needs a moment of quiet to recover. You are not weak. You just need to settle down at the right time. Apart from life and death, everything else is trivial. You have weathered so many storms in life, often without even realizing it. So don't make it harder on yourself. Sadness will pass, pressure will dissolve, things that don't belong to you will go away. The most important thing is to keep your mind at peace amidst all changes. When your mind is at peace, no matter what happens outside, you will still find serenity. In this moment, Zen Buddhist teachings wants you to know that you are not alone. No matter how strong you may be during the day, at night, everyone needs a gentle hand to remind them that they deserve peace. Tonight, I will be here with you, to walk with you through confusing thoughts, to help you lay down the burdens that have tired your shoulders for so long. Close your eyes and feel your breath. Feel the heartbeat that persistently keeps you alive every single moment. Each breath is a reminder that you have tried very hard. No need to be strong right now. Just let your mind relax. Just let your body rest. Just let your mind reside peacefully in this moment, like calm lake water. When you release a part of your worries, sleep will gently come to you, like a kind friend when your mind settles. Peace will find its way to you, without you having to chase it. Let tonight become a gift where you return to your own sacred stillness. Then you will realize that in the silence of the night, a small, subtle light is quietly leading you closer to tranquility. There are long nights when you toss and turn on your familiar bed, unable to sleep. Just one day passes, but so many things are pent up in your heart. You've tried to live kindly, tried to work hard, tried to love with all your might. But sometimes the response is just indifference or injustice. Sometimes you are misunderstood, even though you've treated others with all your heart. Sometimes you suffer a loss, and no one notices. Sometimes you know you're right, but still have to stay silent to avoid arguments. All these things silently create an invisible weight on your mind. Then at night, when your body is tired, your mind is even more prone to accumulating worries, making your breath heavier than usual. Many people often ask why they feel so tired. Tired from within, tired to the skin, so tired that just a small comment from someone can make you sad all evening. So tired that just thinking about tomorrow's work makes your heart sink. Actually, you are not weak, nor are you incompetent. You are just carrying too much. Carrying things that don't belong to you, carrying old sorrows, carrying responsibilities beyond your capacity, carrying people who no longer want to stay, carrying even the mistakes of others that you didn't cause. According to Buddhist teachings, the root of suffering lies in attachment, which means clinging to something more than necessary. You cling to the idea that you should be loved exactly the way you love. You cling to the idea that your efforts must be recognized. You cling to the idea that the good deeds you do must be reciprocated with kindness. But karma operates very subtly and very slowly. Sometimes you sow today, but you only reap months or even years later. And now you just think that heaven is unfair. Life doesn't love you. People don't understand you. But all those grievances only become a heavier burden if you hold on tight and refuse to let go. If people don't know how to cleanse their souls every day, the dust of afflictions will gradually accumulate. Just like a room left undusted for a long time, dust will settle on your face, on every corner, on all the objects you once loved. At first, the layer of dust is so thin you don't notice, but over time, it makes the room blurry and suffocating. The soul is the same. Each time you are hurt, but refuse to resolve it, that's a layer of dust. Each time you are humiliated, but don't know how to release it, that's another layer of dust. Each time you fail, but blame yourself too much, that's yet another layer of dust. By the time you start to feel suffocated, it's not because life is too harsh, but because the room in your mind has been closed for too long without welcoming the wind. Have you ever wondered why you keep thinking about something that's already past? Why does an unintentional comment from someone make you think about it all week? Or why do some people who once hurt you still pop into your head unexpectedly, even though you want to forget them? That's because you're still holding on to them. The mind is like a hand. If it's holding one thing, it can't hold another. When the mind is full of sadness, there's no room for peace. When the mind is full of anger, there's no room for understanding and love. When the mind is full of attachment, there's no room for happiness. Therefore, learning to let go is not giving up, but creating more space for better things to enter. Many young people confide that even though they tried to let go, they couldn't. One day forgotten, another day remembered, sometimes light, sometimes heavy. Sometimes they think they've overcome it, but just a small incident can stir up a heap of emotions. It's not because not enough time has passed, but because your heart hasn't truly wanted to let go. You still harbor some hope, still hold on to some expectation, still tie yourself to some memory. And like an invisible string binding your heart, you drag it along wherever you go, tired, but don't know how to untangle it. There's a wonderful story about a young man and an old monk. Zen Buddhist. Teachings wants to tell you in the most relatable way so you can feel it through your own experience. The story goes that there was a young man working for a rather large company. That day, he had a terrible day. His boss scolded him for a mistake that wasn't his. His colleagues were annoyed because they misunderstood him as taking credit for their work. Deadlines piled up, and pressure weighed heavily on his head, making his steps home feel heavy. That evening, instead of going straight home, he stopped by a small temple near his office. The temple was simple, but quiet. The sound of the wind blowing through the bamboo grove made his heart feel a little less tense. He sought out the abbot and said he was too tired. So tired, he didn't want to do anything, didn't want to see anyone. He talked about the injustices he suffered, about how he tried so hard, but no one noticed. He talked about the misunderstandings he didn't know how to explain. The abbot just listened without judgment. When he finished speaking, the abbot stood up, went inside, and returned with a cup of hot water. The abbot told him to hold the cup very firmly, and he did. The hot water made him a little uncomfortable, but he tried to hold on. The abbot continued to pour more hot water into the cup, and the water overflowed and burned his hand. When the pain became unbearable, he let go, and the cup fell. He frantically looked at the tiled floor, feeling like he had done something wrong. The abbot just looked at him and smiled. The abbot said, "No one forces you to keep holding a cup that's burning your hand. If it hurts, let it go. If it causes suffering, release it. There's no reason why you should keep clinging to something that's harming you." He was confused, thinking that life wasn't as simple as this hot cup of water. How could he let go of responsibilities, expectations, sorrows, and misunderstandings with just one action? The abbot said that the problem wasn't how to let go, but whether you dared to let go. There are things that no longer suit you, but you still keep them just because you fear loss, fear change. There are situations that have become too hot, but you still cling to them, thinking you must try harder. There are people who have hurt you, but you still hope they will return to mend things. When you hold a cup that's too hot, your hand can only get burned. When you keep holding on to suffering, your mind only becomes heavier. The abbot's words made him silent, and then, after some thought, he felt his chest lighten a bit. Not light because he had let go of everything, but light because he understood that he had the right to let go. Letting go isn't giving up, but honoring yourself. Letting go isn't running away, but moving forward. Letting go isn't weakness, but being strong enough not to hurt yourself anymore. In Buddhist teachings, there's a beautiful saying that time heals no one. It's simply that one day we choose to forgive, choose to let go, and then we mistakenly believe that time did it all. In reality, it is the human mind that can heal. If the mind doesn't open, any amount of time is meaningless. But if the mind chooses to open just a little, even a single moment is enough to feel lighter. Letting go is an art. It's not something you can just do by saying it. Nor is letting go forgetting everything completely. Letting go means not letting old things control the present. Letting go means not forcing your mind to carry an already heavy burden of pain. Letting go means appreciating yourself more, rather than appreciating what has hurt you. Many people ask how to know when to let go. The answer is very simple. When holding on causes you more pain than joy. When continuing makes you heavier than it makes you grow. When something takes more from you than it gives. When your heart is so weary that you no longer feel peace, that is when you need to let go. People often hold on because they fear loss, but sometimes it is by holding on that we lose. Lose peace, lose joy, lose even self-respect. Karma never takes anything from anyone without returning something equivalent. If you let go of something unsuitable, karma will open up something compatible for you. Just like when you drop a heavy stone from your hand can then receive a flower. But to receive a flower, you must first know how to drop the stone. Karma never abandons those who live kindly. So don't be afraid. You can start by practicing cleansing your soul, little by little. Every night before bed, review if anything in the day made you sad. If so, acknowledge it and breathe it out gently, like blowing dust off an old table. Every morning when you wake up, remind yourself that today you will only hold on to things that bring you peace. Learn to look at everything with lighter eyes. Someone who wasn't good to you today might be carrying heavy layers of dust in their soul and doesn't know how to clean it. Love them instead of hating them. When you look at the world with understanding and compassion, everything suddenly feels lighter. Letting go is not abandoning life, but living life more fully. When your mind is light, you will see that everything has a solution. When your mind is clear, you will see the meaning behind challenges. When your mind is at peace, night will come faster, and sleep will be deeper. You will no longer toss and turn for hours in exhaustion, because your mind is no longer pulled by confusing thoughts. If tonight you feel your heart is as heavy as a freshly poured cup of hot water, then remember the old monk's words. If it hurts, let it go. If you're tired, rest. If you're suffering, put it down. No one forces you to be strong all your life, nor does anyone have the right to ask you to hold a cup that's burning your hand. You can put it down at any time. And as soon as you put it down, you will understand that life becomes much lighter. Let me tell you one last thing before you drift off to sleep. Letting go is not to lose, but to become lighter. Not to give up, but to move forward. Not to lose, but to find yourself again. Each time you let go of an attachment, you open another door to peace. Continue like this until the room in your soul brightens. Bright with the light of understanding and compassion. Bright with the peace you deserve. And tonight, you can begin. Take a deep breath. Feel the life present in each breath. Then gently put down the things that are making your heart ache. Let tonight be a night of healing, so that tomorrow, when you wake up, you feel as light as a leaf after the rain. That is the first step of the art of letting go. The first step to tranquility. The first step to a more peaceful life that you fully deserve. Dear friend, tonight, if you're sitting in front of a screen or lying down still unable to sleep, perhaps you've had a long day filled with nameless things that made your heart feel as taut as a guitar string. Maybe today you tried very hard but were still misunderstood by others. Maybe you lived kindly but received words that made your heart sink. Or maybe you're simply tired. Tired of having to brace yourself amidst so many expectations, so many responsibilities that no one truly sees. You are kind, But life sometimes isn't gentle. You've made efforts, but there are still days of instability. And you are strong, but there are still nights when you don't want to say a word to anyone. I understand that feeling, because anyone who has lived has had moments when they wanted to give up, but still had to try to stand firm. There are times you wonder why, doing the same work as every day. Today it feels more uncomfortable, more stressful, feeling as if just a light touch from someone would make tears fall. Or perhaps you're feeling really small in the face of life's problems. The future is vague. Relationships are uncertain. Work is piling up. Each day rushes by, all like a thick layer of dust settling on your soul, making you heavier without you even realizing it. People often think pressure comes from work, from targets, from money, from responsibilities. But actually, pressure comes from the very thoughts that your mind clings to. When the mind is tired, even small things become a burden. When the mind is chaotic, normal things turn into storms. The ancients said that circumstances are born of the mind. If the heart is bright, life is bright. If your mind is dark, the world outside also darkens. If your mind is clean, life naturally becomes lighter. Sometimes work isn't heavy, but your mind is making it heavy. Sometimes people do nothing wrong, but you overthink and end up hurting yourself. Sometimes no one demands perfection from you. It's just that you're used to pushing yourself not to be weak. And then fatigue grows steadily, light as dust, but accumulating into a mountain. The human mind is like a room. If that room is left closed for a long time, not cleaned, dust will cling layer by layer until the person living in it doesn't even realize how much clutter they've been living in. Negative emotions, random thoughts, invisible worries are all small dust particles. A little bit is fine, but day after day, month after month, they form a thick film that blurs the spirit and suffocates the breath, and you become heavy without knowing why. Many people think they're tired because of work, but actually, they're tired because their mind hasn't been tidied. When the outer room is messy, we see it and clean it immediately. But when the room of the soul is messy, we often neglect it. And then we ourselves become those who live in the chaos we created. Zen Buddhist teachings wants to tell you the story of a man named Min. A small story, but hidden behind it is a lesson that many people are forgetting. Min was a young man like many others. He worked hard, was responsible, and always tried to keep everything in his life on track. But recently, Min felt more tired than usual. Every morning, waking up was a struggle. Simple tasks became difficult. Worries about work, fear of judgment, obsession with the future made his heart constrict. The strange thing was that Min's desk was always clean. Everything was neat, books aligned, computer dust-free. Anyone looking at it would think Min was very meticulous. But inside, Min was a messy room that he himself didn't realize. One day, feeling his mood was too heavy, Min decided to really clean his room. He pulled down every book, rearranged his closet, wiped down the tables and chairs. And while doing that, Min suddenly stopped because he realized something. As neat as the outside was, the inside was just as messy. What made him tired wasn't work. What made him weary wasn't responsibility. but the incessant thoughts running through his head. Thoughts of fear of being fired, fear of an unclear future, fear of colleagues misunderstanding him, fear of not being good enough. These worries piled up like old papers that he kept accumulating and refused to throw away. And at that very moment of realization, Min suddenly understood that to relieve pressure, he couldn't just clean the outer room, but had to clean the room in his heart first. This lesson might sound familiar to anyone who hears it, but few actually practice it. Because people often chase life, forgetting to stop for a moment to breathe, to feel what their body and mind truly want. Buddha taught that the mind is the root of all suffering. Suffering does not come from outside. It comes from internal clinging. When the mind lets go, suffering dissipates. When the mind is clear, life naturally becomes clear. Now, if you are listening to this voice late at night, I want you to join me on a small journey. A journey to clean up the room of your own soul. No need to rush, no need to strive. Just relax and let each word enter you like warm water, washing away the dust in your heart. You can close your eyes if you wish. Let your body rest for a bit. There's already enough dust from the outside world. Don't let your mind be tired like that too. Take a deep breath in. Feel the air pass through your nose, down into your chest, and spread to every small corner of your body. Then exhale very slowly, just like that, gently and steadily. Each breath is a time you open a window for the room of your soul. Each exhale is a time you release a layer of dust from worries and anxieties. One more breath. Breathe in to receive new energy. Breathe out to shed the old. You can feel the warmth beginning to spread down your shoulders. Your shoulders have been tense all day. Let them rest. Let your shoulders drop. No one forces you to be strong forever, nor does anyone force you to struggle endlessly. The whole world is already heavy enough. Don't carry anything more on your shoulders. Now, let your neck relax. Your neck has turned in so many directions during the day. Let it be still. Feel your hands. They have done so much work since morning. Let your palms relax, soften naturally, without effort, without tensing up. Then your eyes. Your eyes have seen enough. Seen screens, seen people, seen life. Your eyes also need sleep. Let your eyelids slowly grow heavy. Let your eyes rest like a flower, closing after a long day. When the body is relaxed, your mind will no longer jump around like a restless monkey. The noisy thoughts will gradually quiet down. Buddha said that the mind is inherently pure, only becoming clouded by the dust of life. When you breathe correctly, when you relax, when you are aware of yourself, you are gently wiping away that dust. You don't need to try to erase all worries. Just observe them. See them. Accept their presence. Then gently release them. There are people who go their whole lives without knowing how to relax. They think they have to work non-stop to not fall behind. They think they have to worry a lot for everything to be okay. But no one tells them that worrying a lot doesn't make the future better. It only makes today heavier. Life is not a race, nor is it a burden to carry everything with a bowed back. You have the right to be tired. You have the right to stop. You have the right to let your mind rest for a bit. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Remember that pressure doesn't come from work. Pressure comes from thoughts. If your mind is calm, everything will feel lighter. If your mind is disturbed, even small things turn into mountains. Tonight, let your mind be cleaned. Imagine inside you is a room. You open the door, gentle light shines in, and you see boxes you've long forgotten. A box named fear, a box named disappointment, a box named insecurity, a box named the words someone unintentionally said that hurt you. You don't need to open each box, just realize that they take up too much space in your room, and you have the right to discard them, to return spaciousness to your heart. Slowly, you will feel lighter. Even a little bit is enough to start. When the mind is less full, sleep will draw near. When the heart is pure, breathing becomes as gentle as a stream. You don't need to fight anymore. Night is for resting, not for worrying, not for blaming yourself, not for chasing things that cannot be resolved in the dark. You are learning to cleanse your heart. That is a lesson everyone needs to go through. When the mind is cleansed, life becomes lighter. When the mind breathes, one truly lives. Buddha once taught that one who knows how to discipline their mind, even while amidst the mundane world, remains as light as one who has found the truth. And truth, sometimes, is simply knowing how to return to your own breath, knowing how to let go of what doesn't need to be held, knowing how to forgive yourself after days of trying too hard. Tonight, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to be at peace. You just need to breathe. You just need to let the room of your soul brighten a little, and then sleep will come like a gift for someone who has been tired for too long, but still hasn't given up. You deserve rest. You deserve peace. You deserve a truly deep sleep. Dear friend, tonight, if you're lying in the dark and suddenly feel your heart sink as you recall an old memory, an old person, or something that once hurt you deeply, then know that you are not alone. Many people are like you. They live their day very strongly. But at night, when they close their eyes, the past opens the door and walks in without knocking. There are things you want to forget, but can't immediately. Memories that once constricted your heart, even if they happened long ago, can still become a shadow pressing upon your sleep. There are people who have left, but every time you think of them, tears still fall. There are words that once hurt you. Even if the speaker has forgotten now, you still remember. And there are losses you thought you had overcome. But just a moment of silence is enough for your heart to ache again. Night is when people most easily confront themselves, when all sounds have quieted, work is temporarily set aside, social media is turned off, and no one is asking anymore. That's when you hear your heart clearly. That inner voice is sometimes gentle, but sometimes it is the voice of wounds that haven't healed in time. Perhaps you've also wondered why something that happened long ago still hurts you. Why a relationship that ended so long ago still haunts you with that person's image? Or why old mistakes, even if corrected, still make you feel remorseful. That doesn't mean you're weak, nor does it mean you're overly emotional. It just means you are human. You have a heart. You have loved, sacrificed, trusted, lost. And things that touch the heart cannot disappear overnight. According to Buddhist teachings, the past is something that cannot be held on to. It's like rain that has stopped. No matter how long you stand under the sky, you cannot call the rain back or change the raindrops that have already fallen. But many of us keep standing under the metaphorical wet eaves, clinging to a water-soaked shirt and refusing to change into a dry one. We are afraid to step out of the comfort zone of memories, afraid that if we let go, we will lose everything that was once familiar, afraid that if we forget, we will betray our own emotions, and afraid that if we move on, we will encounter new pain. Humans always tend to hold on to what hurts them, like touching a cut, and then touching it again, just to feel it's still there. That psychology is very natural, and understanding it is also the first step to healing. Because to let go, one must first understand why they haven't been able to let go. To forget, one must accept that some things cannot be forgotten by forcing oneself. To feel lighter, one must know that they are holding on too tightly. People often think that letting go of the past is the hardest thing. But actually, the hardest thing is to accept that you have been hurt. The hardest thing is to look at the wound without avoiding it. And the hardest thing is to learn how to treat it as a part of yourself, without hating or blaming it. There's a beautiful image in Zen philosophy. Time is a flowing river, and the mind is a boat. The river always flows. It waits for no one and does not turn back. If the boat wants to continue, it must drift with the current. But if the boat keeps trying to anchor itself to a rotten tree stump or cling to an eroding sandbank, it will never move forward. The harder it tries to hold on, the more stuck the boat becomes. And as the water flows, the boat fills with more mud. Humans are the same. We anchor our minds to old sorrows, to a name that no longer belongs to us, to a mistake we've paid for, to something that should have changed, but can no longer be changed. And the longer we anchor, the heavier the mind becomes. The river of life still flows, but we stand still. Tonight, if you are anchoring your mind to some old matter, I want to invite you to temporarily drop that anchor, not to forget immediately, not to force yourself to stop hurting, just to let go a little so that the boat of your mind can become lighter. Let me tell you a story, a gentle story that might make you look at your past in a different way. Once upon a time, there was a young girl who lived with her mother in a small house. Her mother loved her very much, taking care of her every little bit. Whenever she was sick, her mother would use an old cloth to wipe her forehead. That cloth was soaked with her mother's sweat, imbued with her diligence, love, and the years they relied on each other. When her mother passed away, the cloth became the only item she treasured like a precious gem. She hung it in front of the house so that every time she passed by, she would see her mother. But each time she looked at it, her heart would ache as if someone had just reminded her that her mother had left. That feeling repeated day after day, making her want to keep the cloth, yet also want to avoid looking at it. One day, a heavy rain and strong wind blew the cloth to the ground. It fell into a muddy puddle. As she passed by the porch, the girl saw her mother's cloth, stained and dirty, no longer intact as before. She picked it up, rainwater dripping from its edges. And at that moment, she suddenly understood something she had not dared to face for so many years. That the most beautiful things from the past would also get wet, grow old, fade. That the loss wasn't in the cloth, but in the way she looked at the cloth, with a desire to pull the past back. She stood for a long time on the porch. then gently hugged the cloth to her chest. She knew it was time to put it away, not to discard it, not to forget her mother, but to keep it in her heart, no longer letting it stir her heart whenever she saw it. The past is rain that has stopped. No one needs to stand forever under the wet eaves. That story is like many of us. We keep mementos, memories, words, photos, messages, as if keeping a part of our soul. But sometimes it's looking back too much that prevents us from moving forward. No one tells you to sever ties with the past, but some things should be put back in their proper place. Kept in the heart, it's light. Kept in the eyes, it hurts. Kept in memory, it causes remorse. Each time we relive a painful memory, we are reopening our own wound. Buddha once taught that all things are impermanent. Impermanence means change. Nothing remains the same forever. No suffering lasts forever if we know how to look at it with awareness. No past can bind a person if that person knows that the value of the present is always greater than what is past. What belongs to yesterday does not always need to be carried into today. And sometimes what we think is a loss is life's way of creating space for something new, something lighter, to enter. Some people suffer their whole lives over a small wound, not because the wound is too deep, but because their mind refuses to let go. They obsess over the question, why? Why did that person treat me that way? Why wasn't I loved? Why did I fail? Why didn't things turn out as I wished? But Buddhist teachings do not teach us to find the answer to why. Buddhist teachings teach us to see things as they are. Loss is loss. Ending is ending. Pain is pain. And then there will come a time when the pain ends, because all phenomena are created by the mind. Suffering or peace both come from the mind. If the mind desires peace, everything will feel lighter. If the mind desires to hold on, everything will feel heavy. Tonight, I want you to try something. Gently close your eyes. Imagine you are standing before a calm stream. That stream symbolizes time, always flowing forward. In your hand, you are holding a small stone. That stone could be an old memory, a sorrow you hide, a regret you haven't forgiven yourself for. Someone who once hurt you, or something you always avoid thinking about. Look at the stone in your mind's eye. See it in your hand. Acknowledge that it once made you heavy. Then ask the question, do I need to carry this stone with me for much longer? If you are ready, just gently release your hand. The stone will fall into the stream and be carried away by the current. It's not that you're forgetting it, but that you are returning it to time. You are letting the stream do what it always does, flow forward, and carry away what no longer belongs to you. You don't need to be strong to let go. You let go to make your heart stronger. You don't need to be sure everything is perfectly fine. You let go to give things a chance to become better. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is liberation from things that have bound you for too long. If you have been hurt, that doesn't make you less valuable. If you have loved the wrong person, that doesn't make you less intelligent. If you have failed, that doesn't make you less talented. All that has passed is just a lesson, not a sentence. The past is a teacher, not a jailer. Once you've learned the lesson, you have the right to leave the classroom. People often think that forgetting someone is betraying the feelings they once had for them. But actually, letting go is a more mature form of love. Love doesn't mean holding on forever. Love sometimes means accepting that the paths of two people have diverged, and letting go is a way for each person to find more peace. Those who have left, let them go. You don't need to pull them back into your memory. People don't belong to each other forever. Only karmic connections remain. When the connection ends, holding on won't keep them. When the connection remains, they will stay even without holding on. Perhaps you are saying in your heart that letting go is not easy. That's right. Letting go is a process, like cleaning a mirror that has been dusty for many years. You can't just wipe it once and expect it to be clear immediately. But each day you wipe a little. Each day you accept a bit more. Each day you choose to be a little lighter. The mirror will become clear again. Your mind is the same. No need to forget immediately. Just don't torment yourself anymore. Tonight, allow yourself to shed the heaviest pieces of memory. No one is monitoring you. No one is judging you. This is a moment just for you and your own soul. Take a deep breath. Breathe in to gather peace. Breathe out to release things that are too old and that you've unintentionally held on to. Breath is the key. Each exhale is a time you let go a little. Each inhale is a time you open the way for healing to enter. Remember that you don't need to forget the past to live happily. You just need to not let it dictate your happiness today. You don't need to erase those who once hurt you. You just need to put them in their proper place in your heart. You don't need to chase away memories. You just need to let them rest peacefully. An awakened person is not someone without a past. An awakened person is someone who knows how to walk through the past without letting it pull them back. You can be lighter without needing to be strong. You can be more at peace without needing to forget everything completely. You can sleep better if your heart no longer clings tightly to things that no longer fit your current journey. Tonight, let sleep come as a blessing for someone who has gone through many wounds, but still wants to live kindly. A blessing for someone who has suffered much, but still keeps goodness in their heart. A blessing for you, who is listening and wants to heal your heart. You deserve a light heart. You deserve a future not bound by the past, and you deserve a truly deep sleep. When you close your eyes, you will see that time is still gentle, the river is still flowing, and the boat of your mind can begin a new journey whenever you wish. Tonight, as you open your heart to listen to these words, perhaps your heart is still filled with a jumble of thoughts that you haven't truly rested from all day. Maybe it's the feeling of being misjudged at work. Maybe it's a careless word from someone that saddened you all day. Maybe it's the fatigue from constantly trying to live well. But negative things are like dust particles constantly flying in the air, making your mind heavy. The more you try to escape sadness and fear, the more they cling to you, like a shadow following behind you. The faster you walk, the longer it gets, and you feel that no matter how hard you try, you're always missing something. You might have wondered why you're so strong, yet still feel tired. You might have forced a smile all day, but when night falls, you feel a faint ache in your chest. You think you're not allowed to be weak, but actually, the strongest person is the one who dares to exhale gently allows themselves to let go and admits that they are only human. In Buddhist teachings, negative thought streams are not enemies. They are just clouds obscuring the sunlight. Their root does not lie outside, but within the consciousness. When the mind is disturbed, small matters become big waves. When the mind is at peace, even storms turn into serenity. Just as the Buddha taught about the Four Noble Truths, suffering exists, but we can understand it, transform it, and find the path to escape it through mindfulness. Negativity is just fleeting delusion, but because we cling to it and magnify it, it becomes fear. When you run from it, you inadvertently nurture it with that very act of running. When you stop, look directly at it with pure observation. It will dissolve like water vapor in the sun. Human psychology is complex because we often think more than what actually happens. A small criticism can become an obsession. A bad experience can make us forget hundreds of good things that are happening. That's why negative thoughts always tend to exaggerate. They are like reflections in a distorted mirror, warped, but we believe them to be real. The more we try to push them out of our minds, the more they crowd in. Because the nature of the mind is that it cannot deny anything by force. The mind can only transform through gentle recognition. When you breathe slowly and look back at yourself, you will realize that many heavy emotions are not as truly dangerous as you once thought. They are just looking for a place to be heard. Even if you've had days where you had to brace yourself and be strong, tonight, let yourself rest a bit. You don't need to be resilient every moment. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Negativity is not the destroyer you think it is. It's just a signal indicating that your mind is tired and needs care. There's an everyday story I want to tell you. The story of a little boy living in a small alley. Every evening, as he walked through the alley to go home, he trembled with fear of his own shadow. The faster he walked, the longer the shadow stretched out in front of him, making him more terrified. Sometimes he wanted to scream, to run away quickly, but the more he ran, the more it chased him. One day, someone passed by and asked him why he was crying. He didn't dare to say anything, just shook his head. The person then placed a small lamp at his feet. The light shone, making the shadow shrink and gradually disappear. The boy stood silently for a long time, then let out a long sigh, as if a burden had been lifted. When he stood still, facing what had scared him for so long, the shadow no longer chased him. From then on, he wasn't afraid of the darkness in the alley anymore. He knew that fear didn't come from outside, but from how he looked at it. That story is also like your mind. Negative thoughts don't go anywhere. They are the shadow of the mind. When there's a lack of the light of mindfulness, the more you run, the longer it gets. The more you worry, the bigger it becomes. When you stop and breathe deeply, the light of awareness will make that shadow shrink and disappear. Buddha once taught that the human mind is like a lake. If the lake is stirred, the reflection will be distorted. But when the lake is calm, everything becomes clear. Negativity is just ripples. When you release some resistance, the lake will calm itself, just as it is taught in the Metta Sutta. May your heart be kind. May gentle energy spread from within you, and all afflictions will naturally depart like yellow leaves falling from a branch. If you look closer, you will see that Most of your heaviest thoughts are not due to bad events, but to the way you interpret them. A small matter, but you keep thinking about it, making it a mountain. A tiny sorrow, but you cling to it, making it a burden. Buddhist teachings say that suffering does not lie in the event, but in attachment. When attachment is released, the mind naturally becomes light as a leaf. When you cling to a negative thought, it will be like a stone in your pocket, making you more tired with every step. You don't need to be strong right now. Like a mountain climber, sometimes you have to stop and rest to continue. You've tried enough. Now is the time to let go a little. You can try listening to your breath right now. As you gently breathe in, notice where your body wants to relax. As you breathe out, imagine you are putting down a stone in your mind. Breathe in, then breathe out. Just like that, without rushing, without forcing, just simply feeling each rhythm. Each breath is a time you bring light back into your mind. Each breath is a time the negative shadow shrinks. When you breathe out, quietly tell yourself a simple thing. Everything will be okay. When you breathe out a little more, you'll realize you don't need to bother with meaningless criticisms. When you breathe out a little deeper, you will feel a soft peace in your chest. There's a saying in the Dhammapada that the mind leads all phenomena, meaning, when the mind is at peace, everything will be at peace. When the mind is disturbed, everything will be chaotic. One who knows how to observe their mind will not be controlled by negativity. One who knows how to smile at themselves will not be swayed by sadness. Tranquility begins from within. It doesn't come from anyone outside. People can make you sad, but only you have the power to allow sadness to stay or leave. When you know how to place yourself in your breath, you are stepping out of the prison of negative thoughts. When you know how to stop, it means you are choosing light instead of endlessly running in the dark. The lesson of this section is not to avoid negativity, but to look at it with gentle eyes. When you learn to stand still, all fears become smaller. When you know how to breathe deeply, the mind naturally awakens healthy energy. Negativity is like a shadow. It only appears when there's a lack of light. That light is right within you. Just turn back, and you'll see. No one in this life can avoid moments of weakness, but one who knows how to return to their breath will find themselves faster. One who knows how to care for their mind will no longer be pulled into the exhausting cycle of negativity. And now, you can practice a small habit every night before you sleep. Place your hand on your chest, close your eyes, and quietly remind yourself that you are good enough. You have tried very hard. You deserve peace. Let each breath become a healing medicine for the mind. Let gentle energy soothe the painful places in your heart. As you breathe out, let a part of negativity leave you. As you breathe out again, let the pressure dissolve into space. As you breathe out one more time, let yourself be light as the clouds in the sky. When the mind is at peace, the body is at peace. When the mind is clear, everything is clear. You deserve to sleep well. You deserve peace. And right now, as you listen to these soft whispers, let the gentle energy flow through every cell. Let yourself be still under your own light. Let the negative shadow behind you shrink. And let sleep embrace you like the arms of someone who understands you best. Tonight, as you listen to these whispers, perhaps your heart is still holding on to a few things that weigh you down. A comment that hurt you, someone who once treated you poorly, a prolonged misunderstanding that makes you feel unfairly treated. Perhaps you've wondered why you, who inherently live kindly, are still misunderstood by others. Why you've tried to be patient, but still have moments of anger so strong you want to give up everything. Then, as night falls, the things that bothered you during the day resurface, preventing you from sleeping deeply as you wish. There are old resentments that have long passed, but every time you remember them, your heart still aches softly. There are stories that have closed, but their echoes remain, preventing you from moving forward peacefully. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try not to notice, you still feel your heart constrict at an old memory. Everyone has such dark corners. You are not alone in that. There's a stanza that has been repeated many times, that anger is a fire that burns the soul before it burns anyone else. That fire is not in the hands of the person who hurt you, but in your own heart. When we don't know how to embrace it, the fire becomes something that consumes all the softness and peace within us. Anger is not bad. Anger is just a signal. It tells you that you've been touched at a weak point, that you need to be understood, that there's something you've endured for too long and never spoken about. In Buddhist teachings, anger is not an enemy, but an emotion that needs to be acknowledged. When we acknowledge it, it weakens. When we embrace it, it calms. When we chase it away, it flares up stronger. Resentment is the same. Clinging to right and wrong is the same. All are fluctuations stemming from an unsettled mind. Buddha once taught that the root of hatred is ignorance. When we believe that everything must happen our way, we easily get angry when reality doesn't meet our expectations. When we think others must treat us well, we easily complain when they hurt us. When we believe we are right, we easily cling to our own views and see others as wrong. But life does not operate according to anyone's will. Everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own suffering. The person who hurt you, sometimes they themselves are struggling in the darkness of their own mind. The person who made you sad sometimes doesn't have the capacity to understand your emotions. Buddha said that anger is like holding a burning coal to throw at someone. Ultimately, the one who gets burned first is yourself. It sounds simple, but only through experience do we fully understand its meaning. In human psychology, anger often doesn't stem from major events, but from accumulated old wounds. A small word can hurt us if we've been hurt at the same point many times before. A careless action by someone can make us explode if we've been carrying unnamed sorrows. When we are angry, the deepest part of us is crying for help. Clinging to anger is how we self-imprison ourselves in an invisible rope. When we resent, the resentment is not in the other person, but in our own heart. When we attach, we lock our own freedom. These things make our minds turbulent, blocking sleep right at the threshold. Perhaps you felt so tired you wanted to collapse, but just an old memory can wake you up as if someone just shook you awake. Anger is like that. It appears like a strong wind, but lingers in our hearts for a very long time. To help you better visualize the mechanism of anger and how the mind operates, I want to tell you a very simple story. The story of two sisters in a small family. That evening, They argued over a small misunderstanding, just an incomplete sentence, just an action misinterpreted. Initially, both spoke very softly, but the more they talked, the higher their voices got. The words were like hot steam rising from a boiling pot on the stove. With each passing minute, the hot steam grew stronger, and the vortex of anger grew larger. The younger sister blamed the older sister for not understanding her. The older sister blamed the younger sister for not listening. Both wanted to defend their point of view, but the more they tried to defend, the more both hurt. The small house suddenly became noisy, as if there was a pot boiling over. At one point, the older sister stopped talking. She stood up and quietly walked out onto the porch. Not because she lost, not because she gave up, but because she understood that when water is boiling, if you keep adding to it, it will overflow and burn everything. Her silence was like turning down the heat. When the older sister was silent, the room gradually calmed down. The younger sister was initially furious, but after a while, looking at the pot on the stove, she suddenly understood that if her sister continued to talk, both might say things they shouldn't. When the older sister returned to the room, the two sisters looked at each other. Neither said anything to hurt the other anymore. Anger was put down not by winning an argument, but by stopping at the right time. Like a pot of water, just turn down the heat, and the water will calm itself. That story carries a very close lesson. Anger burns us first. When you let yourself get caught up in anger, the first person to suffer is you. When you know how to stop, you are choosing peace. When you know how to take a step back, you are opening a wider path for yourself. No one is perfect, and we are not perfect either. Others can be wrong, and we can sometimes be wrong. Others may not understand us, and we sometimes are not clear-headed enough to understand them. Tolerance is not giving up, but shedding light on both yourself and the other person. Like a small, gentle lamp hanging on the porch, though small, it's enough to dispel some of the darkness. In the Sutta on Metta, Buddha said, "Cultivate a gentle heart, like a mother protecting her only child." The mind inherently has the ability to resolve hatred. A compassionate mind has the ability to soften the hard edges of life. When you look at the person who made you angry with eyes of compassion, you will see that they also have suffering within them. When you look at yourself with eyes of understanding, you will see that your anger also comes from old wounds. And from that, resentment decreases. Attachment lightens, and the heart finds rest. The lesson learned from this section is not to forbid you from being angry, but to help you understand anger so you are not controlled by it. Releasing anger is a journey. Releasing resentment is wisdom. Releasing attachment is freedom. When you put things down little by little, your mind will be lighter each day. When you understand that anger solves nothing but harms you, you will know how to step back. When you understand that everyone has their own hidden corners, you will resent less. When you understand that clinging to right and wrong doesn't make you more right, but only makes your heart weary, you will know how to breathe out and move on. And now, as night falls gently like a thin blanket, you can take a minute to review your day. Was there anything today that made you angry? Was there any comment that made you unhappy? Did anyone hurt your feelings? Acknowledge that. Name your emotion. But after naming it, let it dissolve like steam encountering cold wind. Gently tell yourself that you don't need to hold on to it anymore. You deserve peace. You deserve deep sleep. You deserve for your mind to be calm, like lake water after a breeze. As you breathe in, let your heart soften. As you breathe out, let anger flow out with your breath. As you breathe in again, receive the wholesome energy that is enveloping you. As you breathe out one more time, let the small resentments rest. Releasing anger is not forcing yourself to forget, but not letting the past hold your hand and pull you back. Releasing resentment is not denying the pain, but letting the pain find a place to rest. Releasing attachment is not abandoning your values, but understanding that freedom always lies in a mind unburdened. You can close your eyes right now. Imagine before you is a gentle light. That light is like the lamp the older sister placed back in the house after silently leaving. It's not too brilliant, but enough to show you the way. Let that light shine into the places in your heart that are still hot. You will see the heat gradually dissipate like a pot of water with the heat turned down. You will see that the memories that caused anger are no longer sharp. You will feel your heart more spacious. That doesn't come from external magic, but from your own decision. You choose peace, and peace chooses you. Tonight, let sleep come like a kind friend instead of a struggle with old thoughts. Let yourself release all resentment from your shoulders. When you sleep with a light mind, tomorrow morning you will wake up with a spacious mind. And from that spacious mind, you can live a fuller day. Perhaps tonight, as you seek out this sound, your heart is also burdened with no small amount of fatigue, filled with worries that you probably couldn't share with anyone all day. Maybe you tried very hard at work, but weren't understood. Maybe you lived very sincerely, but were still misunderstood. Or sometimes you just wished for a peaceful life. Yet every day you get caught up in endless vexing matters. Some people even ask themselves why they always live kindly. But life is never as gentle as they wish. Those feelings are not yours alone. Anyone who grows up struggling in this life has experienced days when their heart felt heavy as a stone, tired as if they had no strength left to take another step. Each time darkness falls, when the city lights up, and everyone closes their room doors, that's when long accumulated thoughts rush in all at once. That's when you realize you are truly carrying too much on your shoulders. When you feel your heart is weary, let me be here with you for a little while. Let this voice slow down, soften, like someone sitting beside you on the porch in the evening, just to tell you a few very simple things about the journey of living lightly that anyone can embark on. There is nothing prescriptive, just sharing from what life has taught, from Buddhist philosophies that have helped countless people find true inner peace. In Buddhist teachings, human burdens fundamentally do not come from life itself, but from the mind's attachment, from the way we look at things, from the expectations we place on ourselves and on others. Life has wind, but our mind is the leaf. The leaf is light when the wind is gentle, but if the leaf is wet and covered in dust, even a small breeze makes it tremble. Humans are the same. A light-minded person makes big problems small. A heavy-minded person makes small problems big. That's why Buddha taught that life itself is not heavy. It's our heart that carries too much. When the heart is light, life naturally becomes lighter. Have you ever wondered why we so easily become burdened? It's because people often have a habit of holding on to what they don't need to hold, thinking about what they don't need to think about, worrying about things that might not happen, and fearing things that may never come. Human psychology always tends to accumulate, whether it's worry, vexation, or sadness. Just one hurtful word can make us remember it for a very long time. Just one unsatisfactory thing is enough to keep us awake all night. When sadness is not released, it will lie dormant in some corner of the heart and grow day by day. When pressure is not relieved, it will silently accumulate until it tires the heart. And so, we carry each small, insignificant matter as if adding another stone to our backpack. One stone is not heavy, but 10, 20, 30 stones. And then hundreds of small stones accumulated over years will leave us with no strength to walk peacefully anymore. The burdens of human life do not come from one major event, but from countless small things we refuse to let go of. This is why Buddhist teachings always emphasize the word light. To view lightly is to have a peaceful mind. A peaceful mind leads to good sleep. When the mind knows how to choose what's worth holding and release what's not, life naturally becomes much gentler. To help you better visualize, I want to tell you a story about a man I once met. This is the story of the wind-swept field in his maternal grandmother's countryside. He was a man who had lived many years in the city, racing with work, striving in life, which made him forget how carefree he once was. He recounted that throughout his years in the city, he always felt he had to try a little harder, be a little better, strive a little more than everyone else to not be left behind. But the harder he tried, the more tired he became. Modern life makes people sensitive to pressure. Just one unsatisfactory thing is enough to disturb our minds. Just one person not understanding us is enough to make our hearts feel heavy. And then one day, when he felt he couldn't endure it anymore, he decided to return to his maternal grandmother's countryside to revisit the land of his childhood. His grandmother's countryside was a peaceful delta region, with vast rice fields stretching as far as the eye could see. It was a place where every evening the wind would blow, making the entire field move like a soft, living surface. As he set foot on the familiar red dirt road, everything within him seemed to stop. He walked through the wind-swept field where he used to run and play as a child. The wind blew through his clothes. The scent of rice was faint. The sound of birds chirping in the sky all made him feel as if his entire life was being cleansed. With each step he took, every worry and fatigue from the city seemed to be carried away by the wind. He said that standing amidst that field, he clearly felt he had forgotten a simple but important thing, that lightness was never far away. It was always with him. It's just that he had been too busy and hurried, so he forgot how to find it again. He said that the countryside wind made him realize one thing. Life itself had not changed, only his mind had. When he was a child, he looked at everything with innocent eyes, so life was light as clouds. As he grew up, he looked at everything with the fear of loss, with pressure, with worries, with expectations, so everything became heavy. And as he stood amidst the field of his childhood, he understood that if he wanted to live lightly, he had to choose to look lightly. Not because life was truly light, but because his way of looking at it could make it lighter. In Buddhist scriptures, there's a saying, "One who knows how to let go is one who knows how to save themselves from suffering." This is a very simple yet profoundly deep teaching. Letting go is not abandoning responsibility, nor is it escaping life. Letting go is putting down unnecessary mental burdens. Letting go is understanding that some things cannot be resolved immediately. Some people cannot be changed. Some things do not belong to you. Letting go is knowing that the tighter you hold, the more you hurt. The more you try to possess, the more you lose. Letting go is understanding that a peaceful mind is the root of happiness. When we learn to view things lightly, we will learn to face everything with a clearer and calmer mind. Inner lightness is not something someone grants us. It's something we create ourselves with every thought, every choice, every mindful moment. The stronger one is internally, the easier it is to take external matters lightly. The more one understands karma, the less one blames life. The more one comprehends impermanence, the more one appreciates the present without clinging to the past or worrying about the future. The most precious aspect of living lightly is that it gives us deep and peaceful sleep. When you no longer hold too many things in your heart, when you know how to set aside unimportant matters, when you understand that enough effort has been made each day, your mind will naturally become spacious. When the mind is light, the breath is also light, and sleep becomes easy. Like the wind-swept field in his maternal grandmother's countryside in the evening, just a gentle breeze is enough to make thousands of rice plants soft. Similarly, if the mind sheds one worry, life will become infinitely more pleasant. You might ask, how can I practice that lightness in daily life? The answer lies in how you look at yourself first. Don't force yourself to be strong all the time. Don't force your heart to carry things beyond its capacity. Give your mind the necessary breaks. When something happens, ask yourself, is this worth losing sleep over? When misunderstood, remind yourself that karma operates. When encountering injustice, remember that everyone has their own karma. When someone makes you angry, see that person as just a test from life. When work is stressful, see it as an opportunity to train your mind to be steadfast. The lighter you view everything, the more open your heart will feel. Practice a small habit before bed. That is to close the old day with a deep breath and tell yourself that all worries of today are temporarily entrusted to the night wind. You'll deal with them tomorrow. You don't need to solve everything in one night. You just need to sleep well first. When the mind is at peace, everything will eventually become clear. Finally, remember that lightness is not a luxury. It's not reserved for anyone. It's something anyone can reach. A heart that knows how to take things lightly will find peace, even amidst stormy days. A soul that knows how to abide in peace will sleep soundly, even when life outside is full of turbulence. And you, in the present, can also live that way. Just choose a different perspective, a timely letting go, a slow breath. A moment of settling down tonight is enough to build the foundation of a light life. in the wind-swept field of his maternal grandmother's countryside, which the man rediscovered. Peace did not come from life becoming easier. It came from him realizing that the most important thing lay within himself. You are the same. Peace does not lie where you are going. Peace lies in the mind you carry. When your mind is light, every place is a wind-swept field. Perhaps you've also had nights where you lay down, but your heart still felt heavy, as if carrying a whole day's unresolved burdens. You were good to others, but were misunderstood. You tried to work hard, but received the feeling that all your efforts went unrecognized. You wanted to live kindly, to treat others sincerely, but sometimes all you received was silence, or even hurt. Then you wonder why you always fall into such situations, why the more you try, the more tired you feel, why the better you live, the more life challenges you. These questions, sometimes unspoken, silently flow in your heart, keeping you awake all night. You toss and turn from left to right, change pillows, adjust your posture, close your eyes tightly, but your mind is wide open to worries and sorrows you don't know where to put. I understand that feeling, not because I'm smarter or more experienced than you, but because everyone in life has had such nights. Nights where sighs are clearer than heartbeats. Nights where eyes burn from fatigue, but the mind is as awake as a new morning. Nights where you're not fighting anyone, but you lose to yourself. Those are the most tiring nights, and also the nights that need the most healing. If you've ever had such moments, let this section be a gentle conversation before you close your eyes, like someone sitting beside you and telling you that you are not alone. Because sometimes what we need most is not advice, but someone who understands the heaviness in our heart. In Buddhist teachings, there is a very special point. All suffering has a cause. No sadness falls from the sky. No fatigue appears out of nowhere. Every emotion, every disturbance, every sleepless night is a signal the mind is sending to us. The mind is like a friend, a teacher, but also the clearest mirror reflecting ourselves. When we are overly tired, the mind speaks up. When we live contrary to what we desire, the mind also speaks up. When we try to please too many people and forget ourselves, the mind knocks on the door by making us uneasy, anxious, or exhausted. But unfortunately, many people hear these signals, but never converse with them. We just let sadness drift away, then suppress it, letting fatigue pile upon fatigue, letting pressure become a habit. And then, one day, we think we are strong, but actually, we are just too used to enduring. Buddhists call that ignorance, meaning not understanding oneself. When we don't understand ourselves, we go in the wrong direction. When we go in the wrong direction, the more we try, the more tired we become. The more tired we are, the more we lose our peace. And without peace, it's hard to sleep. Therefore, this section is for you to practice dialoguing with yourself, not to blame, not to try to fix yourself quickly, but to recognize. Because only when you see clearly can you let go. When you understand the cause, your heart naturally lightens. I want you to imagine an evening, or more precisely, a very late night. The clock shows 2 a.m. The whole city is asleep. Only a few yellow lights glow from houses that haven't turned off their lights yet. In a small room, a girl is sitting at her desk. She's not the complaining type. She's diligent, responsible, and wants everything she does to be perfect. But that night, she looked very tired. Eyes burning, shoulders tense, head heavy, as if wearing a stone. She looked at the screen, but no longer understood what she was doing. She wanted to finish work, and also wanted to sleep deeply, but couldn't do either completely. On the desk, a note fell, and she sighed. Then, in that moment, she quietly asked herself a question, one you've probably also asked in your heart. She asked, "I just want to ask my heart one thing. Why am I so tired?" And her inner voice answered, not with a sound, but with a truth that had been waiting to be spoken for a very long time. The inner voice said, "Because you're trying too hard to please others." She froze. That answer hit exactly what she had never dared to face. She continued to ask, "So what am I so afraid of that I have to try so hard?" Her heart replied, "You're afraid people will think you're incompetent, afraid people won't like you, afraid of being left behind, afraid of failure. And the more you're afraid, the more you push yourself to exhaustion." She bowed her head, tears falling, not knowing why. Perhaps they weren't tears of sadness, but tears of something being released. She continued to ask, "So if I stop, is that wrong?" The inner voice said, "No, it's not wrong. What's wrong is you keep chasing what you don't need, while what's truly important is being forgotten." She was silent for a very long time, then asked the question many of us have also wondered. She said, "So what do I need to do to be at peace?" Her heart said, "Listen to yourself a little. Breathe. Slow down. Let go of what doesn't belong to you. And finally, love yourself the way you love others." That dialogue didn't last long, but sometimes just a few honest answers are enough for us to understand why we are tired, why we are sad, why we struggle to sleep. The human mind is like water. When there are waves, there is wind. Wind doesn't come from anywhere, but from the very thoughts, pressures, desires, expectations, and fears we hold in our hearts every day. When the mind has wind, sleep is also blown away. Therefore, Buddha taught that to be at peace, one must know. To sleep well, one must look into their own mind first, not to scrutinize to judge, but to scrutinize to understand. Like a person walking in a forest at night, just a small lamp can help them find their way. The mind is the same, just a minute of dialogue with oneself, and we have walked halfway to tranquility. In the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha said that to end suffering, one must know suffering clearly, understand the cause of suffering, believe in the ability to escape suffering, and practice the path to escape suffering when applied to everyday sadness. This means that each time the heart is uneasy, we should stop and ask ourselves, where does this suffering come from? What am I worried about? What am I striving for? What do I desire that doesn't belong to me? When you ask such questions, a strange thing happens. The mind begins to answer. And when the mind answers, suffering no longer has power as before. Because what we recognize, we can let go of. What we understand, we no longer fear. And what we illuminate will no longer keep us awake. You can try dialoguing with yourself tonight. You can ask questions similar to the girl, or you can ask in your own way. But ask very slowly. Ask with a soft heart, not with blame. Ask to understand, not to judge. For example, you can ask, I ask my heart, why do I feel sad today? Your heart might answer that it's because you hoped people would treat you the way you treat them. Or you ask, I ask my heart, why do I feel pressured? Your heart will say that it's because you're carrying too many things that are not your responsibility. Or you ask, I ask my heart, why am I not happy, even though everything outside seems fine? Your heart will answer that it's because you need to be listened to and recognized internally. Recognizing oneself is not a one-time task, but a lifelong lesson. Buddha once taught that humans suffer because they cling to what is not real. When we chase fame and fortune, we suffer. When we desire excessively, we suffer. When we want to control everything, we suffer. When we fear being abandoned, we suffer. But when we turn inward to listen to ourselves, we will see that true happiness does not lie in perfection or the recognition of others, but in inner peace. And that peace begins with small conversations, like the girls' 2 a.m. dialogue. Someone asked me, what if I dialogue with myself and still feel tired? I just smiled and said that the mind is not a door that can be opened in a single moment. It's like a room that hasn't been cleaned for many years. To be clean, it has to be little by little. Each question is a wipe of dust. Each act of recognition is a discarding of an unnecessary item. Each understanding of oneself is an opening of a window for light to flood in. No one else can do that for you. But if you truly start, even just once, you will feel a little lighter inside. And that lightness is enough for you to sleep better that night. You know what? Sometimes just admitting that you're tired is enough to halve the burden in your heart. Sometimes just saying that you're afraid of failure is enough to halve the fear. Sometimes just asking if you're overdoing it is enough for your heart to know to stop. That is the power of self-dialogue. No one understands you better than yourself. No one loves you more than yourself. If you spend your whole life taking care of others, at least every night, you should spend a few minutes taking care of yourself. So tonight, when you lay your head on your pillow, slow down a bit and ask your heart a gentle question. Maybe, am I okay today? Or, what am I worried about? Or, am I carrying too much? Let your heart answer however it wants. There are things you've avoided for a long time. There are tears you haven't dared to shed. There are sorrows you've buried so deep you thought you'd forgotten them. But these are precisely the reasons you struggle to sleep. When you open the door for your heart to speak, you are liberating yourself from invisible burdens. And in that moment, the mind begins to calm. When the mind is at peace, the body is at peace. And when the body is at peace, sleep will come gently, like a soft summer breeze. The lesson of this section is simple, but extremely important. To sleep well, you must understand yourself. To find peace, you must know what you are carrying in your heart. To let go, you must see what you are holding on to tightly. People often search for answers far away, but forget that the most important answers lie within themselves. Buddha once taught that one is one's own island, meaning no matter how good the advice someone gives you, what can save you is the awareness within your own mind. And the message I want to send you tonight is to treat yourself like a friend who is hurting. Be patient, be gentle, be a good listener. Each time you dialogue with yourself, you are healing. Each time you understand the cause of sadness, you are gradually letting go. And each time you can let go, your sleep will be deeper, more peaceful, more complete. You deserve that peace. You deserve to be at ease, and you deserve to sleep soundly tonight. If you are ready, let your heart relax. Let your mind settle. And let sleep come as a gift for one who knows how to listen to themselves. As night falls, when the air becomes quieter, that's also when the human heart is most easily stirred. Perhaps you're lying alone, staring at the ceiling, and your heart naturally fills with countless, unnameable emotions. Sometimes it's the sadness of a love that has gone far away. Sometimes it's the lingering effect of a hurt you thought you'd forgotten. Sometimes it's the feeling of loneliness seeping into every breath, even if you have plenty of people around to talk to. I understand that feeling, because all of us, at some point, have nights where our heart quietly bleeds. All of us have days when we try to live well, try to be kind, try to maintain a sincere heart, but are still misunderstood or treated unexpectedly. All of us have loved someone so much that we gave half of our heart to them, only to one day suddenly realize that the other half of our heart is no longer whole either. Perhaps you are someone who always loves wholeheartedly, always gives more than you receive, always puts others before yourself. But then you suddenly realize that affection isn't always reciprocated the way you expect. You might have asked yourself the very common question that almost everyone asks after a breakup. Why was I so good, but they still left? Why did I try to understand, but it wasn't enough? Why did I love sincerely, but receive so much pain? When those questions crowd your mind, it's very hard to sleep. You toss and turn, confused. You think your heart has cracked, and wonder when it will heal. According to Buddhist teachings, all suffering in love has its cause. Love is not just about meeting, but also about each person's karma. Meeting the right person at the right time is a blessing. Meeting the right person, but at the wrong time, means the connection wasn't fully ripe. Meeting the wrong person, but loving too much, is karma. Therefore, sometimes you hurt not because you are incompetent, but because the karmic connection between two people was not mature enough to walk a longer path together. Just as the Four Noble Truths speak of suffering, its cause, and the path to its cessation. Love is the same. Suffering from loving, but being unable to hold on. Suffering from trusting, but losing support. Suffering from wanting others to understand your heart, but they see things from a different perspective. Pain is pain for everyone, but one who looks deeply into their mind will see that the root of much suffering lies in attachment. We often try to hold on to what has cracked, try to cling to someone who no longer wants to stay, try to maintain a relationship that only brings exhaustion. When we don't know how to let go, the pain prolongs. The more we try to hold on, the more our hand tightens, the more easily it bleeds. In human psychology, especially in love, we easily blame ourselves. When others leave us, we often think we weren't good enough. When a relationship falls apart, we think it's our fault. We try to replay old memories, old words, old actions in our minds. We ask why we sacrificed so much, only to receive such a cold abandonment. That feeling makes one so tired, as if dragging one's feet along an endless road. We might go to work still smiling, meet friends, and still laugh and talk, post happy photos online. But only we know that our heart is like a glass with a small crack, seemingly harmless, but bleeding a little pain every day. Let me tell you the story of a girl. The story happened after a breakup that wasn't necessarily tumultuous or dramatic, but just a gentle word from the other person. "I'm sorry, let's stop here." The girl didn't cry immediately then. She just stood still, looking down at her hands, and said a small phrase, "I understand." But that night, when she returned home, she stood for a long time in front of the small cabinet where the glass cup they used to share every morning was placed. That cup had a very small crack in its body. On the day of the breakup, she intended to throw it away, but couldn't bring herself to. She kept it as a memory. Every evening after work, she poured water into that cup and placed it on the table. Water began to drip, drop by drop, along the crack. She watched the water drip out, and her heart constricted. It felt as if her own heart was leaking from a wound no one could see. One time, she worked until 2 a.m., tired, exhausted, her mind tangled like threads. She turned on a small desk lamp and looked at the cracked cup placed beside her. Suddenly, she asked herself, "What am I so tired of?" Her inner voice answered very clearly, "Because you are trying to hold on to something that is no longer whole." She placed her hand on her chest and continued to ask, "Why can't I let go yet?" Her inner voice gently replied, "Because you think holding on to the cup is holding on to love, but actually you're holding on to pain." She asked, "So what am I afraid of?" Her inner voice answered, "You're afraid of being forgotten. Afraid that if you don't hold on to this cup, the memory will disappear. Afraid that if you let go, that love never existed. Afraid that if you move on, that person will just be a faded name." But the more afraid she was, the more her heart ached. The more afraid she was, the more sleep eluded her. In that moment, she silently watched the water drip from the cup. She understood that she was doing something futile. She was holding a glass of water that was no longer usable. She was holding a relationship that ended long ago. She was holding a memory that the other person had left behind. The next day, she threw the cup away. Not because she had forgotten her ex, but because she understood that holding on to pain didn't heal the cup, nor did it heal her own heart. After that day, she gradually slept better. The long, once heavy nights gradually lightened, and her once cracked heart could gradually welcome new light. Not immediately, but a little, each day. She recovered. She understood herself more. She moved forward, without looking back, with resentment. Buddha once taught that among all kinds of suffering, suffering from love is the deepest, but also among all ways to escape suffering. Letting go is the gentlest path. The Dhammapada says, "Look at life as a bubble. Look at life as a phantom." When you understand that all things are merely combinations that dissolve, you will no longer try to hold on to things that don't belong to you. When you understand that people come to teach you a lesson and then leave for you to walk a new path, You will no longer blame yourself or others. The Venerable Master also once reminded, when there is a causal connection, things gather. When the connection ends, things disperse. Forcing things only brings more trouble to the heart. In the most heartbreaking moments, each person's biggest lesson is to understand that love is not about holding on, but about allowing one's heart to be at peace. Maturity in relationships is not when the heart no longer knows pain. Maturity is when the heart knows pain, but does not let that pain lead it to deeper suffering. When we understand that hurt is a part of the journey, we will no longer resent having given too much. When we look back with gratitude that the other person once added a beautiful chapter to our life, we will no longer bind ourselves. So, if you drag something that is no longer suitable, a mature person does not avoid emotions, but confronts them. They don't let their heart become hardened, but let their heart be softer. Know how to love with more wisdom. When you learn to look at a relationship with the eyes of karma, you will realize that some people come to help us awaken to ourselves. They are the lessons that change us the most. They are the mirror that helps us see our excessive desires, our tight expectations, our attachments that make us tired. Sometimes, the person who hurts you is precisely the one who helps you become more awake. So after all, what lesson do you draw for yourself? Perhaps it's like this. Love is giving, but not to the extent of losing yourself. Love is holding, but also knowing when to let go. Love is understanding, but not trying to guess others' thoughts. Love is opening your heart, but not forgetting to reserve a corner to return to for refuge. When you know that not every love reaches the end of the road, you will learn to cherish the journey you've had without binding yourself to the responsibility of holding on till the very end. When you realize you deserve peace, you will no longer pour your entire heart into unstable relationships. When you understand that maturity is accepting what can no longer be held, you will be as light as a leaf falling in autumn, silently letting go without resenting the wind. If right now your heart still aches, if you lay down and still struggle to sleep because of old memories, try gently talking to yourself. Ask your heart, what are you sad about? Then listen to the answer. Perhaps you are sad because you feel unappreciated. Perhaps you are hurt because you placed your trust in the wrong place. Perhaps you are tired because you keep trying to understand others, but no one tries to understand you. Continue to ask, what are you afraid of? Perhaps you are afraid of loneliness, afraid of time passing without someone to hold your hand, afraid of long nights alone. But then your heart will answer truthfully. Fear doesn't make anything better. The more you fear, the more sleepless you become. The more you cling, the more you hurt. The more you hold a cracked cup, the more your hand bleeds. When you dialogue with your heart very slowly, you will discover the root of your sadness. And when you look directly at the root of sadness, you naturally know how to let go. Letting go is not forgetting. Letting go is not denying. Letting go is moving forward without heavy resentment. Letting go is giving your mind room to breathe. Letting go is liberating both yourself and the other person. From today, practice sleeping in lightness. Before closing your eyes, place your hand on your chest and softly tell your heart, you have had enough. You have tried so hard, there's no need to carry any more pain. Life is already short, so keep only what brings you peace. Your mind will naturally settle, your breath will slow, your body will relax. When your heart no longer holds a cracked cup, sleep will come easily, like a kind friend. If you are listening to these words before you sleep, I hope tonight you find peace of mind. You feel gentle. Your heart is embraced by your own self-support. And I hope that tomorrow, when you wake up, you will feel a little lighter, a little more peaceful, a little more mature. You deserve kind love. You deserve someone who cherishes your heart. But above all, you deserve your own peace. Dear friend, sometimes we don't realize that most of the fatigue in this life isn't because we lack something great, but because we keep chasing something. We think we must have it, must own it, must achieve it to be considered successful or happy. Many people hearing this might feel a little touched because you've walked for too long with a feeling of dissatisfaction with yourself. You see others having beautiful homes, fancy cars, stable jobs, harmonious families, while you struggle day by day. You see friends posting travel photos everywhere, dining lavishly, while you work overtime until late in a small rented room. You look at yourself, sometimes not understanding why you've tried so hard, lived so kindly, yet still encounter one challenge after another. That feeling is very real and very understandable. It's like a cold wind blowing through your mind exactly when you're feeling vulnerable. You work hard, try to treat everyone well, keep your heart honest, harm no one. Yet life sometimes still makes you feel like you're suffering a loss. There are days you're so tired, you just want to lie down, close your eyes, and wish tomorrow would be a little different. But then you open your eyes again, sigh, and keep going, carrying both hope and doubt in your heart. I deeply understand that feeling because everyone in life has experienced it. And because I understand, I want to sit with you tonight, gently, to tell you about an art that many people know, but few truly practice. The art of being content with what you have, not giving up, not accepting things just to move on, but understanding the true nature of happiness according to Buddhist perspectives and the very real laws of human life. In Buddhist teachings, there's a concept called tri tuk, contentment. Tri tuk means knowing enough, but enough here doesn't mean forcing yourself to accept poverty or suppressing yourself. Tri tuk is understanding the true value of what you possess, appreciating what is present, and not getting caught in the endless cycle of comparison. This is a wisdom, not a resignation. A contented person doesn't become poor. They become richer because their peace isn't stolen by external things. If you look deeply into human psychology, you will notice something rather strange. The more one has, the more one feels they lack. Because the grasping mind inherently has no end, like a cup holding rainwater. The more water is poured in, the wider the mouth of the cup opens. It's not because people don't have something, but because they don't look at what they already have. Dissatisfaction doesn't lie in circumstances. It lies in how our mind reacts to circumstances. Try to notice, when you were a child, just a simple toy could make you happy all day. A little older, you wanted nicer shoes. Once you had nice shoes, you wanted a better car. Once you had a car, you dreamed of a bigger house. Once you had a house, you wanted a better job, higher income, a higher position. Then, when everything seemed to be enough, you felt lonelier or more anxious. See? What makes us tired isn't the goal, but the illusion that we have to be better than someone else to feel complete. But do you know something interesting? Among millions of people out there, there are many who wish they could live a peaceful life like yours. They don't need wealth. They only long for a quiet home, someone to trust, a peaceful sleep. They long for the very life you feel is not enough. What you lack is what others have enough of, and what you consider ordinary is a precious thing someone else is giving up a lot to have. From the perspective of karma, everything you have is a blessing. If the blessing isn't big enough, life will lack a little here, be a little unstable there. But blessings can absolutely increase through a kind life, gratitude, and letting go of comparison. To help you feel it more easily, I want to tell you a story. You might have read this story somewhere, but today, listening to it again with a calm heart, you will find it different. A group of friends gathered at an acquaintance's house. The host offered everyone a cup of coffee. On the table were many cups, some beautiful porcelain, some clear glass, some ordinary wooden ones. As soon as the host said, "Please pour yourselves some coffee," their instinct made them immediately choose the most beautiful cups. Everyone wanted to use a beautiful cup, thinking it gave a sense of elegance, sophistication, and correctness. When the coffee was poured, something interesting happened. Those who chose beautiful cups focused on their cups, admiring their design, noticing if the person next to them had a nicer cup. They were so absorbed in admiring the cup that they forgot they were holding a cup of hot, fragrant coffee. In contrast, only one person chose an ordinary cup and smiled, sipping each mouthful of coffee with enjoyment. That person said that coffee is delicious because it is coffee itself, not because of the cup it's in. The story sounds simple, but contains a profound truth about life. Life is the cup of coffee, and work, money, status, appearance, reputation, all are just the containers. A beautiful cup might make you happy for a moment, but what you truly need to enjoy is the taste of the coffee inside. The more people focus on the cup, the more they forget the flavor of the life they actually have. In Buddhist teachings, this is a manifestation of attachment, clinging to the outer shell and forgetting the inner essence. One who clings to the cup easily gets agitated, easily sad, easily compares, easily feels inferior. One who knows how to look at the coffee has a peaceful mind, a content mind, a free mind. The sweetness or bitterness of life does not come from external appearance, but from how you perceive and appreciate it. Buddha once taught that one who knows enough is the richest person, because wealth is not having a lot, but not being overly controlled by what one lacks. When the mind knows how to look at the flavor of life, instead of the external shell, life naturally becomes lighter. One who knows enough is not someone who stops, but someone who can move forward without being burdened by pressure on their heart. They don't run in fear of inferiority. They walk with peace. If you notice, the more mature people get, the less they compare. They know that each life has a different karmic rhythm. You can't run as fast as others if your legs are injured. And others can't understand the path you've walked, the tears you've shed, the pains you've tried to hide. So, Comparing only makes you lose your own joy. The most important thing isn't whether you're holding a beautiful or ordinary cup, but whether you're actually enjoying the coffee in it. Are you truly living each moment to the fullest, or just chasing what others deem valuable? Are you appreciating the people around you? Are you realizing that being healthy, being able to breathe, being able to eat a good meal, having someone to call, having a place to return to, those are already great blessings. Try to think about waking up one morning without rushing. A warm glass of water, a deep breath, a text message from a loved one, a simple meal, a peaceful day passing by. It sounds simple, but someone lying in a hospital bed right now would be happy just to feel a little less pain. Someone lost in a foreign land just wishes someone would call their name. Someone struggling with insomnia just wishes for one night without tossing and turning. When you look from that perspective, you will see that your life is not poor at all. You just forgot to see it. Look back at your mind, and you will see that sometimes we lose our peace over very small things. A careless comment from someone can make us sad all day. A small failure at work can make us doubt our own abilities. One instance of not being recognized can make us feel worthless. But actually, those things are just like the cup. They don't diminish life's inherent flavor, unless you let them control you. When Buddha taught contentment, he didn't teach us to live an ordinary life. He taught us to see that the essence of happiness lies within the mind, not in external things that constantly change. A contented person is someone who doesn't let life be dragged along by greed, anger, and delusion. When the mind isn't dragged along, we sleep deeper, live lighter, love more completely. From the story of the cup and coffee, the biggest lesson is that we must learn to stop for a moment in the long race of life. Stop to realize that we already have more than we think. Stop to appreciate the simple things that nourish us every day. Stop to remind ourselves that no matter how beautiful the cup, it doesn't make the coffee taste better. True fulfillment lies in the ability to savor. So how can you apply the art of contentment to your life, starting tonight? The first thing is to reduce comparison. Each person has their own karma, their own journey, their own lesson to overcome. The second is to practice reflecting on what you already have. Whether it's a small job, a simple meal, or just still being healthy, you can be grateful for it. The third is to practice slowing down a bit. Sometimes, just a few minutes of sitting still, listening to your breath, watching the yellow lights at the end of the day, you will feel your heart settle and become much more peaceful. The fourth is to know how to let go of things that don't belong to you. Don't cling to overly grand desires that exhaust yourself. When your mind becomes light, you sleep well. When you no longer worry too much about achieving this or proving that, night will become gentler. When the mind is at peace, the body is at peace. When the mind realizes it has enough, sleep will come more naturally. You will no longer toss and turn in the middle of the night due to invisible worries. So, dear friend, tonight, before you sleep, place your hand on your chest. Take a deep breath and tell yourself that your life already has so much to be grateful for. Even if there are days you feel inferior to others, even if there are times you see a vague future, Just turn your mind back to what you have, and you will see that you are not alone. You are supported by many good karmic connections that sometimes you don't realize. Life is coffee. The rest is just the cup. Enjoy the flavor you have instead of being engrossed in picking apart the external. When you learn the art of contentment, you are learning to live happily in the simplest yet most profound way. And from this moment, you can begin. Many times, in the quietest nights, you find yourself weaker than ever. Just a sigh is enough to make you crumble. Just a small failure can make you think that all your efforts, until now, have been meaningless. Have you ever felt that way? The feeling of someone who has tried very hard, but is misunderstood, has made every effort, but is pushed aside, has lived kindly, but still encounters only undesirable things. There are times when you just want to give up, thinking you've tried enough, and life still doesn't favor you. I understand that feeling. That is the fatigue of an adult who carries many responsibilities. That is the sigh of someone at work being scrutinized at every turn, even though you always want to do well. That is the disappointment when looking for a job, applying again and again, but each time receiving a rejection. That is the feeling of people who lie awake at midnight, staring at the ceiling and asking themselves where they went wrong, where their future is headed, whether they have the ability to move forward. Such worries keep you awake, not because your body is tired, but because your mind is not at peace. When the mind is not at peace, every night is long. Time seems to stand still. All sounds become clearer than usual. And thoughts keep knocking in your head, rhythmically. It makes you so restless that sometimes you just want to escape from yourself. But you know what? Those worries are not yours alone. Everyone has gone through phases that seemed insurmountable. In Buddhist teachings, this life is viewed with a very gentle yet profound truth. Buddha taught that suffering is not punishment. Suffering is a lesson. Adversity is not to crush you. Adversity is to refine you. Circumstances change with the mind. If the mind is clear, circumstances are clear. If the mind is weak, any circumstance becomes a storm. People often fear hardship, but the wise see hardship as a mirror reflecting their own courage. No one becomes stronger from ease, nor does anyone mature from being spoiled. When you face adversity, you are standing before the door of change. It's just a matter of whether you have enough patience to walk that path to the end. Someone once said that what makes people fall is not adversity, but the feeling that there is no other way to go. But the Buddhist mind teaches that when the karmic connection is not yet ripe, the door is not open. When the karmic connection arrives, the door opens naturally. You just need to be steadfast on your path of kindness, like a sower who knows that what is sown today may not be seen, but in a few months, the whole field will be green. The human mind easily gets agitated when facing failure, because when people fail, they often think they are incompetent. But Buddha once taught that nothing in life happens without karmic connections. With connection, things succeed. Without connection, things perish. Your task is to sow the right seeds, and when the fruit ripens, let time do its part. I'll tell you the story of a poor college student who suffered from insomnia for months due to the pressure of finding a job. He grew up in a remote countryside, his family having nothing but expectations. When he passed university exams, He was the pride of the whole family. But then, upon graduation, he faced a not-so-pleasant reality. Finding a job was very difficult. His resume wasn't outstanding. His skills weren't extensive, and in a crowded city where thousands of talented people competed daily, he was rejected many times to the point of feeling worthless. The first interview, he trembled so much he couldn't speak a full sentence. As a result, he was eliminated. The second time, he prepared thoroughly, but forgot a few basic questions. He was eliminated again. The third time, he thought he did well, yet they chose another candidate. Each time, he returned to his small, rented room in the dark alley, sat on his bed, with his heart feeling utterly empty. There were nights he couldn't sleep, staring at the ceiling with tears streaming down his face. He blamed himself. He blamed life. He blamed fate. He thought that perhaps, from childhood, he was only good at studying and real life wasn't suitable for him, but he still didn't give up. By the fourth interview, he wore his old shirt, neatened his hair, carried his resume, and went again. He was rejected again. By the fifth time, he received advice that his resume wasn't suitable. At that point, he was almost desperate. That night, he stayed awake. Every sound of a motorbike outside made him jump. He sat up, opened the window, looked at the sky, and asked himself if he had any reason left to continue. He felt small in a world too big, and thought this was the end of his efforts. But you know what? Things that seem like an end are actually the beginning of a new chapter. Because just a few days later, he received an invitation for a sixth interview. This time, he no longer had too many expectations. He went with a lighter mindset. When people asked, he answered with his sincerity. When people asked him to demonstrate skills, he performed to the best of his ability, without trying to appear perfect. And then a miracle happened. He was accepted into a company much better than the ones he had applied to before. This company suited his abilities and provided him with an environment to grow. When he looked back at the journey he had taken, he suddenly smiled and said, "If I had given up at the fifth time, I probably would have missed the most beautiful karmic connection." He realized one thing. Failure is not the end. Failure is just life adjusting your direction, so you arrive at the right place, meet the right people, at the right time. That small story is exactly like Buddhist teachings, always emphasizing that everything that happens is due to karmic connections. Without a connection, you don't meet. With a connection, it will come. The things you desire that haven't come to fruition don't mean you're undeserving, but that karma is unfolding, just as trees cannot sprout leaves before winter passes. You cannot blame the tree for not being green when it's still cold. You also cannot blame yourself for not succeeding when the karmic conditions are not yet ripe. Buddha once said that wholesome actions are never lost. You live kindly if no one sees it. Heaven and earth see it. You make efforts if no one knows it. Karma knows it. You are persistent. If no one acknowledges it, you yourself will reap the sweet fruits of that persistence. Sometimes, moments of failure are just time for you to stop, breathe, and look deep within yourself. Adversity builds character. Only in strong winds do we know which boat is sturdy. Living in this world, you will sometimes be tested so much that you think you can't bear it. But the human heart has an hidden strength that only reveals itself when facing difficulties. Don't rush to judge yourself when you're in sorrow. Boiling water cannot reflect your face. A chaotic mind cannot show you your true worth. There's a beautiful saying in Buddhist teachings that each time you suffer, you are evolving. Pain comes to teach you to re-examine your ego. Sadness comes to compel you to stop for a moment. Failure comes to remind you that there are still many things to improve. But not everyone realizes that. Some see adversity and give up. Others see adversity and rise up. In this world, Buddha does not distinguish between rich and poor, skilled or unskilled. Buddha only looks at the mind. One who knows how to transform their mind overcomes storms. One who lets their mind be carried away by fear sinks deeper. The future keeps you awake because you look at it with anxiety. But anxiety doesn't change the future. It only makes the present heavier. Try to look back at the difficulties you've overcome before. You once thought you couldn't get through it, but in the end, you did. Everything that was once terrible has gotten better. All the sadness that once tormented you has gradually subsided. You have come further than you thought. You are stronger than you imagined. You have survived more than you remember. The most important thing right now is not to tell yourself you're useless. You are not useless. You are just at a point where the results haven't bloomed yet, like a rice seed freshly sown in the ground that lies dormant for weeks without any sign. But deep inside, it's germinating. It's just that the naked eye cannot see it. Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent, meaning everything changes, meaning today's sadness does not last forever, meaning failure now does not determine your life, meaning all the worries you are clinging to will pass, if you know how to let go a little. Letting go is not abandoning. Letting go is not letting the mind be constrained by things that don't belong to it. Letting go is knowing that you've done your best and leaving the rest to karmic connections to arrange. You don't need to become strong immediately. You just need to take it one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. When tired, rest. When in pain, allow yourself to heal. When worried, remind yourself that you've overcome it many times before. Do you know why calm people are often trusted by others? Because they understand that everything has its time, just as a tree cannot bloom in the middle of the rainy season, just as the sea cannot be calm when the wind is still strong. You just need to follow the natural flow of life, walk the path of goodness, and your heart will be less agitated. If you're having trouble sleeping due to worries about the future, gently place your hand on your chest and quietly tell yourself that you are still moving forward. You are still learning. You are still growing. You are still trying. You are not standing still. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is going forward even when you are afraid. Steadfastness is not being unshakable. Steadfastness is knowing what you want and not letting sadness make you give up. Then one day, when you look back, you will see that your hardest days were precisely the days that created the strong person you are. You will be grateful for the rejections. You will be grateful for the failures. You will be grateful to yourself for not giving up. And you will smile when you realize that everything you wished for will eventually come. As long as you still believe, still live kindly, still persevere. Now, as night has fallen, and you are listening to this voice, I hope your heart lightens. I hope your worries dissipate. I hope you feel that this life still has many good things waiting for you ahead. Not all roads are smooth, but Any road you walk with steadfastness will lead you to where you deserve to be. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and remember that you haven't given up. So you've already won. My friend, perhaps you are listening to these words tonight after a long, tiring day. Maybe you've gone through something that made your heart feel as heavy as a dangling stone. Maybe you tried very hard, but still felt disadvantaged. Maybe you lived sincerely, but were misunderstood, judged, treated coldly. Or perhaps you are simply too tired of life, of its demands, of the unseen pressures. Outsiders see you smiling, but inside are sleepless nights. Thoughts keep swirling, leaving your heart no peace. Everyone has such moments. Moments when you look at life and wonder why you have to endure so many unwelcome things. Moments when you find life as bitter as an unmixed lemon, making your throat constrict and your heart ache faintly. It is precisely at such times that people often fall into a sense of powerlessness. The more they think, the heavier their heart feels. The heavier the heart, the further sleep retreats. You're not wrong. You are just a normal human being, with emotions, with wounds, with fatigue, and with worries that not everyone understands. Buddha taught that the root of suffering lies in the mind. When the mind is full of afflictions, everything seems heavy. When the mind is occupied by sadness, even a small thing becomes hard to breathe through. We hurt not because life is so bad, but because the way we look at life has been covered with a layer of dust. That dust is accumulated from disappointments, hurts, unfulfilled desires. Invisible comparisons in our hearts gradually gather, obscuring the inherent light of our minds. Sometimes you look at a situation and find it terrible, but it's not inherently terrible. It's because your mind is sad, so it appears that way. Sometimes you look at a person and find them careless, but sometimes it's your own fatigue that prevents you from recognizing another aspect of them. Buddha once said, "When the mind arises, phenomena arise. When the mind ceases, phenomena cease." Meaning, when our mind changes emotions, thoughts, life also changes accordingly. That is something many people don't know. They try to change circumstances, try to change others, try to force everything to go their way. But they forget that the root lies in the mind. If the mind is not at peace, no matter how life changes, sadness will still cling. Conversely, when the mind shifts its perspective, the whole world seems to soften. Humans often tend to exaggerate suffering. When we encounter something unpleasant, we easily think our life is full of misfortune. When hurt by someone, we easily forget that we still have many who love us. When something unwelcome happens, we easily overlook hundreds of good things that are silently around us. That is a very natural psychology, because the human brain always prioritizes remembering negative feelings to protect itself. But that very thing makes us get caught in a spiral of sadness and vexation that we cannot escape. Sometimes you think life is turning its back on you, but actually, life is just gently testing you, like offering you a lemon and asking if you want to drink lemonade or throw it away. A lemon is inherently sour. That cannot be changed. But the glass of water can be sweet if you know how to mix it. Life is the same. There will be times when it's sour, times when it's bitter. But how you choose to handle it is what matters. Remember the image of a sour lemon? Try to imagine a child sitting in the kitchen one afternoon, given a glass of lemonade by their mother. Taking a sip, they immediately grimaced because the lemonade was too sour. The child looked at the glass and sadly said, "This drink is too hard to drink." The mother smiled gently, took a spoon of sugar, put it into the glass, and stirred very slowly. She didn't change the lemon, nor did she throw away the drink. She just changed the way it was mixed. After stirring, she gave the drink back to her child. The child tried another sip, and their eyes lit up because the sourness had softened and sweetness spread. Her mother said that a lemon is inherently sour, but if you know how to add a little sweetness, it becomes a refreshing drink. Life is just like that. Many things are born with their own sourness, but how you treat life will ultimately decide. That small story sounds simple, but contains a lesson that many adults take a lifetime to understand. We often have a habit of reacting immediately to undesirable things. When encountering something bitter, we complain. When encountering someone who makes us sad, we blame. When encountering failure, we blame ourselves. But few think about remixing the drink. Few think about changing their perspective to see that the situation isn't entirely negative as they thought. Few think about adding a little sweetness to their heart. Buddha taught that every experience is a karmic connection and has its reason. Sometimes the things that make you sad are the very factors that help you grow. Sometimes the difficulties that make you anxious are the stepping stones preparing you for something better. Sometimes the people who hurt you unintentionally become the ones who teach you to be strong. Thinking that way, you will find life is no longer so heavy. Everything has a bright side and a dark side. Every experience is a lemon that can be made into a refreshing drink if you are willing to look at it differently. People often forget that emotions are born from thoughts. When thoughts change, emotions also change. And when emotions change, sleep also becomes lighter. There are nights you toss and turn, not because life is too harsh, but because you are looking at life through the eyes of a tired person. If you change your perspective, you will realize that alongside difficulties, there are still things to be grateful for. Many of us have experienced situations that made our hearts so heavy we didn't want to sleep. You might have failed at something important. You might have been betrayed by someone you trusted. You might be stressed by financial burdens. You might be sad because your job isn't as desired. But try to look back. You still have the ability to hear these words. You still have a home to shelter from rain and sun. You still have the health to keep trying. You still have people who care, whether few or many. You still have small things that many others out there yearn for. When you change your perspective, you will see that life is not as bad as your mind thinks. Buddha once taught about the contented mind, one who knows enough, even with little, sees much, even lacking, feels complete. One who doesn't know enough, no matter how much they have, still feels they lack. Some people live in a small room, but their heart is full of peace. Some live in a large villa, but struggle to sleep every night. What brings you peace is not the circumstances, but how you look at those circumstances. A contented mind is the root of happiness. A contented mind helps you not compare yourself to anyone. A contented mind helps you not get swept away by the noisy current of life. A contented mind helps you sleep deeper because your heart is no longer swayed by things beyond your control. Once you know enough, you will realize that every day that passes has so much to be grateful for. Today, you might have been very tired, but you still have the opportunity to rest. That is already something precious. Today, you might have been disappointed, but you still have hope to continue tomorrow. That is a gift not everyone has. Today, you might have shed tears over something, but you can wipe your tears and stand up. That is something to be proud of. And to lighten your mind, I want you to try a small exercise. Before closing your eyes tonight, think of 3 things you are grateful for today. Just 3 things. Maybe it's eating a good meal, maybe receiving a kind inquiry, maybe completing work despite being tired, maybe simply sitting down to relax after a long day, maybe simply being able to breathe. Hai ngi ve badiwe, ve kamnyan chung, banka tri tim. You will feel your mind soften, like cool water flowing over fatigue. When you change your way of thinking, life will change its flavor. When you know how to see the bright side of a problem, your mind will no longer be stifled. When you learn to feel gratitude, sleep will come naturally because there's nothing left clinging to your mind. Life is sometimes like a lemon. It can't always be sweet, but if you know how to mix it, how to look at it, how to add a little sweetness of gratitude, a little gentleness of acceptance, a little peace of contentment, then those sour things will also transform into something that helps you be more alert, stronger, and deeper. So tonight, let your heart settle. Let worries be carried away by the wind. Let the bitterness dissolve as you change your perspective. Let your mind rest. Let your heart breathe. Because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve peace in your soul. You deserve a life where you can smile when you wake up. And it all starts with how you look at what happens to you. You don't need to change the whole world. Just change your own perspective. Just know how to mix life's lemonade in a way that makes you feel more comfortable. Then you will sleep deeper. Your mind will be more at peace, and life will naturally become much lighter. Dear friend, if you are lying there after a long, tiring day, perhaps you have experienced things that made your heart heavy. Maybe you tried very hard, but the results were not as expected. Maybe you lived kindly, but were still misunderstood. Maybe you tried to maintain peace, but life constantly brought challenges that made you feel like you were fighting alone. Right now, if your eyes are heavy, your mind is filled with unresolved worries, I understand that feeling. It's not easy to endure injustice and pretend you're fine, nor is it easy to suppress the sorrows that have been accumulating in your heart for days. But you know what? No matter how difficult today was, you have made it to this moment. You are here. You have lived through another day. You have overcome more than you think. You are stronger than you imagined. And right now, you deserve to rest, deserve to put down all pain, deserve to let your mind relax like flowing water. In the Buddha's teachings, there's a beautiful idea that everything in life is impermanent. Suffering is impermanent. Fatigue is also impermanent. Heavy emotions will also pass like clouds gently blown by the wind. Nothing stays forever if we know how to relax our mind and not cling tightly to thoughts that hurt us. Humans suffer because they cling to too many old things in their hearts, suffering from worrying about things that haven't happened, suffering from forgetting that their mind inherently has the ability to heal itself if allowed to be quiet and at peace. And today, you are giving yourself that opportunity. The opportunity for your mind to rest, for your breath to flow freely, for sleep to return like a kind friend. I know that. Night is always the time when sadness speaks loudest. In the silence of darkness, things we try to forget reappear. But it is also in the night that our mind is most easily healed if we know how to turn inward and gently let go, little by little. Night doesn't come to make you more tired, but to remind you that you've been through a whole long day, and you need to breathe, to relax, to be at peace. Try to feel your body right now. Your once tense shoulders are now gradually relaxing. Your heartbeat slows down. Your breath becomes deeper. You are no longer racing with life. You no longer have to brace yourself to please anyone. No need to prove anything. No need to try to appear stronger than you are. All you need now is to relax. All the burdens of today have left you. You are safe. You are loved. You are rested. The scriptures always remind us that the mind is like a lake. When the lake is turbulent, the water is muddy and cannot reflect anything. When the lake is calm, everything becomes clear, and the most beautiful things arise from that clarity. This moment is when you let the lake in your mind settle. No need to chase away thoughts. No need to try to be at peace immediately. Just let everything pass naturally, like your breath. Gradually relax, and trust that your body knows how to bring you to sleep in the gentlest way. There's a small story I want to tell you before you drift off to sleep. The story of an old man who used to walk over a small hill every evening. One time, someone asked him why he liked walking like that, and he smiled and said that each step on that path helped him put down a heavy burden in his heart. When he reached the top of the hill, he felt empty and light as a cloud. He left his burdens behind and only brought peace home. Right now, you are also on such a journey. Each breath is a step. Each release is a suffering put down. And when you drift into sleep, you are like someone standing on the hilltop, able to see the vast peace within your mind. There are nights we struggle to sleep, not because our body is tired, but because our mind hasn't had time to let go of unresolved matters. But tonight, you don't need to complete everything. Don't need to solve every problem. Don't need to find answers to every unfinished thing. Buddha taught that a disturbed mind, the more it tries to think, the more confused it becomes. To calm the mind, first you must let the mind rest. And sleep is the magical gift that brings freshness so that tomorrow you can wake up with a clearer mind. Now, grant yourself the right to slow down. Feel the warmth of the pillow, the softness of the blanket embracing you. Nothing threatens you anymore. No more noise from bustling life, only your breath and the stillness enveloping you. Your mind is returning to its original state, peaceful and light as a lotus petal touching the water's surface. And now I will count slowly from 10 to 1. Each number is a step guiding you deeper into peaceful sleep. As you listen, you don't need to think. Just let yourself follow the count and let your mind rest. 10. Your body begins to soften. Shoulders drop, breath deeper. You are entering a completely safe space. 9. Cluttered thoughts gently fade. They're like leaves floating on water, drifting away from you. 8. Heartbeat evens out. All daily tensions are automatically released by the body. 7. Eyelids grow heavy. The mind seems to drift into a gentle light. 6. The back relaxes. Legs light as if lying on a cloud. 5. The whole body invites sleep closer. You are no longer bothered by anything. 4. A layer of peace envelops you, so light that you only want to sink deeper. 3. The noise in your mind has subsided, like a lake returning to stillness. 2. You feel loved, protected, completely rested. 1. You fully enter the space of deep sleep, where all sadness is released and your mind is completely at ease. Now, you don't need to listen to anything more. Just let sleep embrace you. Let your mind drift into stillness, like a calm lake under the moonlight. Let sleep heal what you couldn't attend to during the day. Let your body recover in this gentle silence. Tonight, you are allowed to rest, allowed to be vulnerable, allowed to just be yourself without bracing. I wish you a very good night's sleep. As good as a child's after a long day of play, as peaceful as a lake on an autumn morning, and as warm as being embraced by sincere love. Sleep well tonight, and for all nights to come. Let this tranquility accompany you every evening. Let sleep become the gift you give yourself. And when you wake up tomorrow morning, I hope you smile and clearly feel that your mind is much lighter. I wish you peace in every breath and a deep sleep in complete tranquility.